Eyes across the nation are on Arkansas and the outcome of a hotly contested Senate race there. Incumbent Democrat Mark Pryor is trying to hang on to his seat from Republican challenger Representative Tom Cotton. And the stakes could not be higher. The GOP is just a few seats away from controlling both houses of Congress. And a win by Cotton in Arkansas could shift the balance of power in a big way. Joined live now in studio by Congressman Cotton. Congressman, thanks for being here tonight.
Great to be with you, Darryl.
First of all, let's talk about the last couple of weeks. You've had at least three debates with Mark Pryor in the state of Arkansas, and the mudslinging has begun. Is this any worse than it's been previously leading up to those debates?
You know, I dodged real bullets when I was in Iraq, so a few metaphorical bullets on the campaign trail don't bother me too much. I can only control the campaign that I run, and the campaign we're running is about Mark Pryor's record of voting for Barack Obama 93% of the time and not creating the kind of opportunity for Arkansans to get ahead and make a better life for themselves. That's what I want to do for Arkansans in the United States Senate.
And that is one thing that you have done a very good job of doing throughout this campaign, is painting Mark Pryor as being in Barack Obama's corner each and every time. Talk to me about solutions in your camp. One of the things that Arkansas faces is a Medicare crisis and a Social Security crisis. Talk to me, give me your plan. How would you bolster both of those areas to help Arkansans?
Well, we have to protect and preserve Social Security and Medicare for Arkansas seniors. My mom and dad are on Medicare and Social Security. My mom may not like me to admit that, but that's the case. And I have voted, and I always will vote, to protect and preserve Social Security, and no changes to be made for today's seniors or anyone even approaching retirement. One of the most important things we can do in the short term, though, is simply get our economy going again, so we have more people working and paying into the system, so it helps the solvency of the Medicare and the Social Security Trust Fund. And we do that by lowering taxes and making regulations simpler and smarter so we can get people back to work in Arkansas.
And Congressman, you've taken a hard line against Obamacare, saying repeatedly and emphatically in most cases that if you had the opportunity, you would repeal the Affordable Health Care Act. If you do that in the state of Arkansas, according to some reports, you would leave several in the lurch if you just uproot what is already in place. Do you have a plan to fix that as well?
Our healthcare system, no doubt, had lots of problems before we passed Obamacare, like the lack of access to care for some people who had pre-existing conditions or the high cost of health care. We didn't have to nationalize the healthcare system, though, to address those problems and add new problems to the system. What we do is repeal Obamacare and introduce patient-centered reforms, like letting people shop across state lines or letting individuals get similar tax treatment that businesses get. You'd have more competition for your health care expenses then, and the competition always drives down prices and improves quality and helps get care to all Arkansans.
Congressman, one of the things that Americans are starting to grow wise to is the games that are played in Washington. Tonight, Congress has an all-time low approval rating as a whole. Democrats have their lowest approval rating in more than 6 decades. Republicans are below that. Is there a way, because you have been part of that establishment as a congressman, is there a way to somehow, some way restore confidence in Congress?
Yes, we need more elected leaders who mean what they say and say what they mean. I haven't been in Washington very long, less than 2 years. I was only elected in 2012. I spent much of my adult life in the Army, and I think if we had more traits in Washington like we had in the Army, like leadership, courage, duty, respect, and service, then Washington would be more respected, just like our military is respected.
Congressman, also, one of the crises facing America right now, maybe it's not fair to call that a crisis at this point, but a concern by Americans tonight, it's making up all the headlines for the past 8 to 10 days, Ebola. It seems that we are lacking leadership, or at least vocal leadership, on all three fronts in Washington. If you had the chance to talk to the American people right now and tell them what you would do, given the situation that is Ebola, what would you do?
Well, Ebola is obviously a very serious matter. We now have 3 known cases in the United States. I wrote to the president along with my other 3 Arkansas congressmen over 2 weeks ago, asking him to implement a travel ban, no flights from West Africa to the United States, additional restrictions on transfers of passengers flying from West Africa into the United States, and a suspension or even a revocation of visas. We need to do everything we can to contain the outbreak in Africa. That's why we have so many brave and skilled military personnel, physicians, volunteers there. We also have to keep it from coming to the United States.
Only a few seconds left, Congressman, but on November 4th, this all goes down. Only a few days left. What's your push over the next 8 to 10 days going to be like as you face off against Mark Pryor?
Well, we're going to be campaigning all across Arkansas, as I was earlier tonight in East Arkansas, just outside Wynne. We had several hundred people at a barn, at a fish fry, listening to me and listening to my plans for our state and for our country. And we're going to keep doing that all the way to November 4th.
U.S. Congressman Tom Cotton, thank you for being in studio tonight, Congressman.
Thank you, Daryl.